Feral thugs go berserk at a Chipotle. A Minnesota mayor who makes over six figures thanks Joe for his student loan handout. And Alec Baldwin's reward for shooting someone is apparently a TLC reality show. Sit back and relax as we watch the series finale of Civilized Society, and right before our very eyes, the show starts now. So it's time for my losers of the week. Folks, ever since 2020, it feels like society has just gone downhill. I mean, our country for damn sure has. But it's not just our economy and the White House that has fallen, in Joe's case, quite literally fallen, but also basic morals and decency. People have forgotten how to act on planes, trains, and in automobiles, malls, and fast food establishments. Take a look at this wild scene. No, not out of National Geographic, but rather a Chipotle. There you'll see a barefoot woman standing on the service counter of a California location, sizing up her targets before she proceeds to throw food at them. What would possess someone to do that? Lack of parenting, lack of basic values, lack of consequences? I'm going to guess all of the above and more. Americans are already struggling to afford casual dining, and now we must be subjected to these displays to boot. It just ain't right. And here's what else just ain't right. Taxpayers paying off student loans for anyone, but especially those making over six-figure salaries, also funded by the taxpayers. Meet St. Paul, Minnesota Mayor Melvin Carter, who took to social media to thank Ice Cream Joe for his student loan handout. It's important to note that according to govsalaries.com, Mayor Carter made approximately $132,000 serving as mayor in 2021. The median household income for Americans sits around $74,000 a year at last count. So that means that average American taxpayers are paying off the student loans for people like Mayor Carter and others who are making well above average Americans. And in Carter's case, double dipping from taxpayers given his government salary is also funded that way. Aren't you glad you're chipping in to help the more fortunate? And in the interest of staying on the theme of undeserved rewards, my final loser this week is Alec Baldwin, but really more so TLC. Besides just being a jackass in general, Alec Baldwin is also accused of tragically, even if mistakenly, shooting a co-worker on the set of Rust in 2021. But taking a life is apparently an enticing storyline to TLC, who is rewarding the Baldwins with their very own reality show. So if your lawyer pays off a porn star, you get charged with 34 felony counts. But if you shoot someone, you get a reality show. Like I said earlier, this is all just really feeling like the season finale or maybe the series finale of America as we know it. But those are my losers of the week. Beyond those lovely folks I just mentioned, there's a lot going on in America right now with the trials and the border orders, but the left really wants to make sure those things are not distracting you from Pride Month, something they eat, dream, and live for. My next guest might be gay, but she's far from a pride pusher, so I want to get her take on a few of these things. Political content creator Becky Weiss joins me now. Becky, it's great to have you.
Thank you, Tommy. Thank you for having me back.
So I want to jump in now. It feels like this year, Pride Month might be slightly overshadowed by everything going on. And I think that the Rainbow Mafia is quite honestly pretty pissed off about it. But I want to get your take on first things first. It seems like a number of retailers are maybe pulling back their Pride displays a little bit this year, which to me seems like an encouraging sign. But I want to get your take. Do you think that Pride Month might be, just maybe, on its way out?
I certainly think that it's possible. I don't think it will ever completely go away, but I think that they have pushed to such a point of extremism to where they're having to pull back at this point because society has had, such a massive outpouring of disdain for what they have been doing, which to be fair is well deserved. I love that retailers are pulling back, which honestly is kind of funny because, we all boycotted Target. I haven't shopped at Target in years, and now the left is boycotting Target because they pulled back. So they kind of shot themselves in the foot. So I kind of think it's funny to watch the left quite literally eat themselves and destroy their own community at this point.
Well, I think really what this is you're right. It's the oversaturation. Pride Month has been a thing for a long time. And I don't think it ever really bothered people when it was just the pride parades and the rainbow flags. I mean, whatever. If you want to celebrate, we have celebrations for everything. Doesn't mean everybody has to take part. I think it's when it started to be ramrodded down everybody's throat that people started to get annoyed with all of this. And I think it's reaching the point now where it's like, listen, Maybe I'm wrong, but I think there was a time when the gay community really was demonized and marginalized in America, but I think we're well beyond that. I think now claiming that we have to celebrate everybody's sexuality because these people are disenfranchised or marginalized, I think that that is an old sentiment. And I think now people just actually want equality. Maybe even the gay community is starting to understand that that's actually the goal. Maybe I'm wrong. What's your take?
No, you're absolutely correct. We have all of our rights. There's nothing to be marching for at this point. There's literally nothing that we are fighting for. So at this point, I think it's kind of a two-sided thing. Number one, yes, it has been jammed down everyone's throat and nobody wants to see it anymore. I don't want to see it anymore. Most of the gay community doesn't want to see it anymore. It's too much. But number two, since we have all of our rights, we're not truly fighting for anything. The pride parades have become more of a festival of hedonism, and everyone is on their worst behavior, putting just their absolute worst on display and with no consequence, because everyone's afraid that if they say, hey, I am not cool with this behavior in public, they get called homophobic. So I think it's kind of a two-sided thing between being jammed down everyone's throat, but also the pure hedonism on display every single Pride Month, that's really shutting it down.
Yeah, I don't understand what wearing like leather and studs and straps and stuff. I don't understand what that has to do with being, proud of yourself. I don't understand why it has to take that turn, but that's what we've seen. I want to get your take also on the Queers for Palestine. So it was actually last weekend that the pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas crowd, they were protesting, but they ran into a pride parade. And so there was kind of this standoff. And I thought for the last several months, really since October 7th and the horrific terrorist attacks, I thought that the Queers for Palestine and the gay community and the Hamas community, they made us feel like they were all one community. But now there seems to be maybe a little bit of clash since the Queers for Palestine are, I don't know, maybe realizing that it's an oxymoron to even carry that sign. But what do you think this is going to look like, especially as we head into not only the rest of the month of June, but into election season and really when all these protests are going to reach a boiling point?
Well, I'll start by saying the Queers for Palestine are probably some of the lowest IQ individuals that we have out there in the community. They have no idea what they're saying, what they're chanting. They don't know what they are, promoting there, because Palestine, most people in those countries would throw them off of the roofs of buildings or behead them or kill them or bare minimum imprison them for being gay. So it's absolutely absurd. Now, I'm not going to get too much into the Israel versus Palestine, but I do know that the Queers for Palestine is one of the biggest oxymorons. These people would be killed over there, but they buy into anything that the media wants them to buy into. The same thing with Ukraine, the same thing with the masks, the same thing with the vaccines, whatever they're supposed to be championing, they go and they champion because they are low IQ.
Yeah, and they just want to be part of something, which actually to me is kind of sad. I think it's sad that there especially are a number of young people who even knows what their sexuality is. I don't think they know, but they feel like they want to be LGBTQIA plus whatever because they want to fit in somewhere. And I think, as much as I talk about it and sometimes I mock it and it's all kind of in good fun, I actually feel badly for a lot of these people because I think they want somewhere to fit in. And I think that sometimes that extreme part of that community kind of preys on these people. And I'm wondering from your perspective, because you would know better than I, do you think that there is divide within the LGBTQ community of people who just are that way and then people who are almost looking to prey upon others as some kind of a power play? Because it seems to me like there are different sides of that spectrum.
Yes, absolutely. There is a massive divide. There is the majority of the gay community who are individuals like myself, who simply want to be left alone, live a normal life. Like, please just leave me alone. And then there are the predatory ones. And you are absolutely correct in what you're saying here, because it is predatory. These people go after these children or young teenagers who essentially are longing for belonging. They don't have a strong sense of identity of who they are. Maybe they're awkward. They don't fit in at school. And then the rainbow comes in and it says, here, join us. They will give you an identity. They will give you a community, a sense of belonging. They will give you something to fit into, which is extremely predatory to these children who are most likely just looking for a sense of belonging. And then they take it. And next thing they know, they go down this extremism rabbit hole where they're being told to transition or get on hormones, that their genders are made up. And next thing they know, they're full force into this extremist borderline cult, I would say, that completely steals who they are as a person and replaces it with an extremism ideology.
Yeah, it's really sad. I mean, I think people should just be who they want to be. And I'm somebody too that before this started being pushed down everybody's throats, especially the trans element of all of this, I don't care if you want to marry the same sex. I mean, whatever. I think everybody should have equal rights. Love who you love. I really don't care. It's none of my business. Don't care. Don't have anything against anybody's lifestyle. Do what you want. I think it's when it started hijacking women's sports and when it started really demeaning women with the trans cult of all of this. I think then that's when it really started to bother a lot of people because it feels really intrusive and invasive. It doesn't really feel like liberty and freedom for all. It feels like you must co-sign. And, this kind of brings me to another post. Apparently, it's Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month, a very real issue, something that we really do need to be aware of. But then there's this post, and you'll see it on the side of the screen there, but saying that, anybody can get ovarian cancer. And I don't know, Becky, I'm confused. I don't think that men have ovaries, so I'm not exactly sure why we're changing the terminology here to warn people who don't have ovaries of ovarian cancer. Please help me figure this out.
Well, one thing to what you said about, men being in women's sports and women's spaces, not only is it intrusive, but it's dangerous, which is why we're seeing such a pushback. And I just wanted to make sure to get that out there. That is a very real danger to women, children, young girls. It is a dangerous situation. To the ovarian cancer, this is just another example of a company pandering to the 2% of the population at most. They're pandering to this 2% and making the other 98% deny objective reality, because no, men cannot get ovarian cancer and no, women cannot get prostate cancer. These things are not biologically possible. But since they say that gender is a social construct and gender is not real, they say anyone can be anything and get anything, which makes objective reality seem subjective, which is clearly not the case.
It's so odd to me that they can put this stuff out there and with a straight face and just not and think that they're fooling anybody. But there's another kind of hot topic in pop culture that I'm really interested your take on, and that's the Catilin Clark. Speaking of women's sports, okay. The WNBA is getting a lot of attention and spotlight because of Catilin Clark, because she is a superstar. A lot of people have followed her journey. They think she's an exceptional athlete, which she is. She's brought a lot of eyeballs to a league and an association that a lot of people, quite frankly, don't know anything about. They couldn't name a WNBA team. I certainly couldn't name a WNBA team before Catilin Clark. But she's getting a lot of hate and she's getting physically attacked. And it seems like now we've got the Chicago Sky actually clapping for the girl who, hip checked her to the ground. And it's very odd to me. So I want to get your take. Why do you think that there's so much disdain by some for Catilin Clark?
Because she's straight and she's white. And that's it. She's a straight white woman who excels in her sport. She is undeniably one of the best in the league, if not the best. I won't act like I know everything about women's basketball here, but she's the first women's basketball player whose name I've ever known before, which speaks a lot. I know that she draws a tremendous audience. Her alone will draw a bigger audience than the rest of the games combined over any given game. She is a superstar, but since she's a straight white woman, she doesn't fit the mold of diversity, equity, inclusion. She's not somebody who they want to prop up. I guarantee you that if she was someone of color or if she was a lesbian, that she would be celebrated. She would be the poster child of the WNBA. But because she's a straight white woman, they're trying to hate on her and stomp her out.
Yeah, and she also hasn't come forward like others have, and she hasn't put her white guilt on display. She hasn't talked about wanting trans people in the sport. There are others, and her name escapes me because, like I said, I really don't know anybody in the WNBA, forgive me. But there's another player who came out who is white and straight who said that she has a lot of privilege and it's the white young girls are getting more attention. So she's putting her white guilt on display and some people are clapping for that. But I think it has a lot to do with the fact that Catilin Clark just wants to play her flippin' sport and people want her to get political or they want her to somehow be a social justice warrior. And she just really wants to play basketball. And I'm wondering if you think this is going to end anytime soon, or do you think this is like an initiation for her, a hazing, or do you think that this is just going to be the constant dogpile on Catilin Clark until she breaks and starts being a liberal?
I don't think she's going to break, and hopefully it will end soon, because politics have no place in sports. People don't want politics in sports. It's the same way with like the MLB and the NFL putting rainbows on their logos for Pride Month. Nobody wants to see that. We just want to watch a good sporting game. You know, there's a reason why we don't necessarily see DEI in sports, because nobody cares. You just want to go watch a good sporting event. So hopefully that this gets stopped out, because good sporting fans don't care about politics. They don't care about your social views. They just want to watch you go play some ball and put on a good show for them, make some good entertainment. So I do hope that she stands strong, because there is nothing to be, you know, nothing to feel bad about. Oops, my lights just went out. Can you give me 1 second?
Yeah, I love it. Oh, I thought you might have lost power there, Becky, but you're still with us. Love it.
As I was saying, there is nothing to feel ashamed about whenever it comes to being white. Nobody should feel ashamed for the color of their skin, no matter what that color is. There's nothing to be ashamed about with your sexuality. And you shouldn't have to pander and say, sorry, I'm straight, sorry, I'm white, sorry, this, that, and the other. No, you're an incredible athlete. Go play ball, put on a show, give the people what they want. That is literally her job. Her job is not to be involved in politics. You know, that's like what people like me and you do. That's our jobs. That's not her job.
Exactly. They should just leave her alone, leave her be. Also say this though, as a woman, I look at this, I don't just look at Catilin Clark and Angel Reese and this Kennedy person. I don't just look at them and think, oh, you know, they don't like her because she's straight and she's white. I also think that women are mean. And I want to get your take on that too. I think that the reason that women's team sports often fail on the professional level isn't even necessarily because they're not good at their sport, because they are. Obviously, they are. I think it fails because women are inherently mean to one another. And I know that that seems like a stereotype and a generalization, but time and time again, we see it. Women putting other women down, no matter for what reason or what it's for. It seems like the cattiness and the cat fights and they want to be shady and they want to be rude. And we're seeing that right now with Catilin Clark, but I think it would be with any rising star. It seems like women are threatened by other women. And I'm wondering what your take is on that, because it's just something that I notice. I'm a consumer of reality television, and it seems to me that this might be a pattern. I don't know if men do this to one another.
I mean, men do, but it's different, right? Yes, women are catty. So a few things. Number one, women's sports just are not as entertaining. They're not as good. They're not as athletic. They're not putting on as good of a show as the men are. So that's number one reason why women's sports fail. And I'm sorry if that offends anyone, but that is actually just the truth. Number two, women are actually catty, whereas men, whenever they have a beef with someone, they're putting on a show. Like you look at someone like Conor McGregor, that is showmanship, or Jake Paul, that is showmanship. That is to build excitement. Whereas women take it personally, they make it real. They're actually being catty with each other, which again, nobody wants to see. You want a good performance, a good show, some good entertainment, which is something like, you know, a Conor McGregor or a Jake Paul can put on with their beefs that they have with each other, which at the end of the day are all to raise, you know, to raise excitement for the show. Whereas women, it's like, oh, this is just gross gossip and gross cattiness. I'm not interested in watching this.
Yeah, well, and it also seems to me that when men have a rivalry or whatever, I mean, they take it to their sport and they duke it out there and they want to be the best. But for women, it's not necessarily about winning. It's about dragging the other one down or taking a cheap shot. And I just wish women didn't have to be that way. Now, all women are not like that. I'm obviously making a generalization. But as somebody who also exists in an industry that is show business or TV or whatever, I've experienced in the past women just be mean to each other. It's like women are very threatened by one another for some reason. And I think that that is what's standing in the way of women being more successful. We always say, you know, women rule the world and all that. But it seems to me that the same women that are saying women rule the world are also the same women that put down other women any chance that they can get because they don't like somebody else getting spotlight or attention. I don't feel like men do that. I think that that's a problem that women need to work on within themselves. But there's another thing I want to turn to that's not political, and it has nothing to do with gender, and has nothing to do with sexual preference. It's more of just a basic decency issue. This went viral. It's been on my mind, and I want to get your take on it. There's a woman who, of course, anytime somebody has a feeling, they have to post it on social media, but she has a very interesting take on what you should do with your shopping cart. And as a way to kind of lighten the mood, I want to play this and get your take. Let's take a look.
I'm not returning my shopping cart, and you can judge me all you want. I'm not getting my groceries into my car, getting my children into the car, and then leaving them in the car to go return the cart. So if you're going to give me a dirty look, off.
I'm going to give you my take, but I want to get yours first. What is your take on that debate?
So it's funny because like the shopping cart is the ultimate tell of who you are as a person. You are not obligated to return the shopping cart. You don't have to. That is technically someone's job, but it is common decency. That shows me like, hey, you're a basic, decent human. You can take care of basic little things. So people who don't return the shopping cart, even though there's no obligation to do so, that speaks volumes about who they are as a person. And I would just go ahead and make assumptions that her house is not in order. Her finances are not in order. She's probably, I don't want to make too big of an assumption, but I would just say most aspects of her home, career, motherhood, probably not quite in order, because if you can't do the smallest act of basic decency, okay, what else are you not doing? For me, that's just such a telltale sign of who someone is as a person.
And you're a mom. I want to get your take on this too, because it seems like there seems to be a certain amount of mommy privilege as well, of using your kids as an excuse not to do things because you're a mom. And I think that that's annoying and frustrating. She couldn't take the shopping cart back because she got her kids in the car and all that, but she could take the time to sit there and make a video for social media. Where are the damn kids? I often say this of mommy influencers. I hear them talk about being a mom and how hard it is, but then I don't see their kids, or I see their kids used like specifically as props. And what's your take on that? I'm not a mom. Maybe my thoughts would change if I was a mom, but I feel like there seems to be a saturation of some moms using their motherhood as an excuse not to do basic things.
Yeah, I think that that's pretty terrible because number one, it sets a really bad example for the children about what they should and shouldn't do. Terrible example. But number two, you're missing out on the opportunity to teach your children something valuable. So my son, yes, I'm a single mom. So whenever we go to the grocery store, it's just me and him. He helps me return the shopping cart. I don't have to leave him in the car for any reason. No, he can help me put the shopping cart back in the thing, help me load the groceries. He helps me with every single step of that because it's important to me that he learns how to do basic things of that nature. So I am setting an example of the correct thing to do and teaching him the correct thing to do at the same time with his own two hands. I think it is critical, and the whole mom influencer thing drives me wild. But at least for me, like, set the right example, teach your children, use everything as a learning opportunity. And nobody's perfect. I'm certainly not perfect. We all have our moments, but I certainly strive to use all of these things as learning opportunities. Now, a lot of these mom influencers, yes, they do use it as a crutch, and they are using their children as props, especially these pages where the entire focal point is their children. That's where all of their content is just kids, kids, kids. It's extremely, it exploits the children. It exploits the children to absolutely no end. And these kids are going to grow up with the entire world knowing everything about them, and they have no say in it. They have absolutely no way to say, hey, mom, I'm actually not cool with this. And then they're going to grow up and everyone's going to know all their business. I think it is just an absolutely horrible violation of their children's privacy. So like, my son will be on my social media every here and again, but the older he gets, the more I keep his face off of it because I respect his privacy.
It's also weird to me the amount of time that these influencers take to create videos of how hard their lives are. It was actually a couple weeks ago that supposed single mom was baking herself a cake and crying because she had to bake herself a cake for Mother's Day or her birthday or whatever it was. Then that came out. Her ex-husband responded saying, this woman doesn't even have the kids. Like, this woman's actually a mess. But the amount of time that people take to create a video of like how hard it is for them to clean, how hard it is for them to take care of their family, the amount of time they take to do that, to me, that takes more energy and effort than the actual task that they're complaining about. And I think we've turned to that where relatable content has changed so much that it's become a virus or a poison. And I'm wondering your thought as somebody who obviously utilizes social media, we both do. I don't know. Sometimes I think it goes too far.
I can't imagine like being mid breakdown and then just like pausing to set up my tripod, get my camera going, and then not even just recording yourself having a meltdown. Then you got to sit there and you edit it and you're like, yeah, this is good. This is good. I'm crying here. I have snot running out of my nose. This is good. We're going to post that. Like, I cannot even fathom getting myself to that position. Okay. And also it's just victim culture, which is thankfully going away. That's sold on social media for a while. Oh, poor me, poor my struggles. Everyone's pouring out their love and support. Nobody cares anymore. Nobody wants to see it. Like, keep that stuff to yourself. Post your wins, post your triumphs. Like, yes, real life things, we can post that as well. But like, nobody wants to see you crying on social media. Like, y'all got to stop doing that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's for clicks, for attention. I feel like everybody is just attention craved. And maybe that's the whole point of the entire show today, is that people are missing something within themselves that they need, and they crave attention and validation from people that they've never met before. And sometimes that's healthy. sometimes you can connect to people you don't know in that way, but sometimes it's exploitive and sometimes it's just annoying. So maybe that's just the whole thing, whether it's Pride Month or it's these people that push down Catilin Clark or these people that make videos about how they're not going to do basic tasks. It just feels like everybody wants attention. Maybe there's not enough attention in the world for people's ego, and that's really a shame. I don't know where we go from here, but it sure feels like the end of times.
It sure does. I think a lot of it stems from a mass need for validation, a mass, feeling of insecurity. These people who have been handed everything their entire life, told that they're great, and they just crave that as adults. They don't have their value from within inside themselves. So they try to get it elsewhere. They can't validate themselves because they don't do anything worth validating. So they search for it on the internet. And that applies literally basically across every single topic we've covered today. And it certainly is starting to feel like end times, but I am hopeful actually that our country is starting to take a turn. I see a lot of really positive signs heading into summertime, heading into election season, just the general feel out there. I think that we're really going to see a really positive turn coming soon.
Oh, I hope you're right. I love your optimism. Also, a reminder, today is the 80th anniversary of D-Day. So watching the greatest generation and those who fought for freedom, they didn't take selfies, they didn't make videos about it, they just did it. And to see how much society has changed since 80 years ago when those young men went and stormed that beach and laid down their lives for freedom, it's a reminder. It certainly is. Also a reminder that our current president is older than D-Day. So that's another thing. If you've seen the videos, you know what I'm talking about. He looks every bit of 81. Thanks so much, Becky, for joining me today. God bless you, and we love your content.
Thank you, Tomi. Appreciate it.
Of course. All right, folks, that does it for this Thursday edition of Tomi Lahren is Fearless. Please be sure to tune in tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern for my special and uncut interview with the one and only, yes, George Santos. Also, please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Tomi Lahren is Fearless. From Nashville, God bless and take care. What's up, guys? Thank you for watching Tomi Lahren is Fearless. If you want more of my hottest takes, must-see conversations, and of course, my final thoughts, click here and make sure you subscribe here so you'll never miss a beat. I'll be here every weekday, and I hope you'll join me.